I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you for coming. Roll call. John Arch is here.
Joe Bailey here.
John Caleri, the third selectman, is excused. He is currently out of town on business and will be for at least the rest of this month, probably longer. Mr. Chairman, I think as a result of the elections on March 13th, we need to reorganize,
Absolutely.
okay? Typically, the chairman serves for a one-year period and then someone else serves for it. So Joe has been chairman for at least the last year or 2 years.
Last year.
Okay. By default, since there's only two of us at the moment, I am in line for the chairmanship of the Board of Selectmen, if you are in agreement.
Absolutely. That's how you default.
That would make you vice chair,
I'll be vice chair.
right? So
Yeah.
let the minutes show that we've done that. Okay, next, please. Minutes, Board of Selectmen meeting dated March 12th.
Okay, we got all this stuff like that. So I'll make a motion that we accept the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from 3/12/2018 as written.
I'll second, having already read them. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Opposed?
Nope. John, what do you think? What do you think?
What's John Caleri's date for re-election?
He is up year after next. I'm up next time.
Yeah, you're 2019, so he's gonna be 2020. All right?
Yeah.
Which makes sense because he elected in 2017, so 3 years. All right?
Yeah.
So my term would be
21.
2021, it makes me old and dirt by then.
Like then?
No, thanks. All right, moving along, junkyard permit, please.
Okay, this was received from Daryl.
Okay.
Is that right?
We've been
Yeah,
in
we
place like that,
inspected
not
it.
everything,
Right.
he's done like that, so, yeah. I'll make a motion.
He asked me a question about it. You wanted to know about one of the questions. Is oil, grease, gasoline, tires, or other similar material burned at any time? His answer is no. However, he burns brush, another part of the property in the wintertime. So it's a yes or no answer. He does not burn debris, but like oil, kerosene, gas, grease, gasoline, and so forth. But he does burn brush, so it's allowed.
Make a motion that we accept his junkyard permit.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right. So,
We just have that, John.
I think this has been approved by code enforcement,
Yeah.
so.
I'll accept that.
Good. All right. Laura, MS 232 and MS 535, what are they and what are we doing?
So the MS 232 is what we voted on at town meeting, that's the appropriations.
Okay.
So before DRA can approve, all of this has to be submitted, including the minutes from the meeting and all of that, so they.
I think the minutes are done already. They've been submitted?
Not yet.
No, she was working on them.
She was working on them, yep.
Okay.
It'll
So you
take her a
need-
little while.
You need signatures on these
Yep,
to go to
and
the
then,
state?
yep, I upload that so DRA can see it. And then this one is the 535, this is what the auditor reflects from our last year with our expenditures and all of that. Which needs to be signed by the board.
I learned something interesting, without mentioning the other town's name. Not every town has an audit. And I would think that would be required to have audits. Every year we have it done by Vashon and Cloquet. Can't imagine a town, even a small town like Middleton, you know, our budget's nothing like Rochester or Dover. But I can't imagine even a small town not having a audit.
How often is the town audited?
once a year,
Here.
yes.
And the town you're talking about is never audited?
Hasn't been yet,
Ever?
right?
Really?
Yeah.
And that's
I think
okay?
it's- Well, according to state law, it's okay, but according to me, it's not.
It's not?
And I want someone to look over my shoulder to make sure we're doing this correctly.
Wow.
Not 10 years down the road, but every year.
It's like a broken record, but prior to Laura coming on board and stuff like that, our bookkeeping was pretty sloppy here as well.
I can attest to that.
So having said that, after some people being moved around and such, we brought in an independent auditor firm, MRI, to sit down with Laura, because she's brand new, to make sure that like that, everything's running, and the mistakes that were made and not, it's tremendous. But it used to take the auditors 2 weeks to do, and probably 4 paragraphs of things to do for the next year to make everything right.
Mhm.
Was not being completed year after year, be the same thing over and over and over, not touched. The accounting, it's just bad, and it cost us $28,000 to have this done. But now we're back on the, so it's like I said, two weeks, full weeks for the auditors to be here. Now they do it in 2.5 days.
I had a situation when I was building my house, and so I met with Dottie Reynolds, and I had the heads up, you know, it's, you guys were tough, and you're gonna put me through the tortures of hell, and blah, blah, and blah, and blah. Well, that's the truth, because I found that to be true. So I had an appointment here, and I forget who she was, but it was the big wig in the, say 2002, 2003, and the name escapes me, but she lived down there to the left. So Dottie Reynolds said to me, you know, Carol, this is gonna be tough, you know, but it's not gonna happen overnight. And I said, listen, tell me what to do, I will follow it every step of the way, whatever you tell me to do, Dottie, I'll do. So I had this appointment with this woman, and they were all talking like this, and they're in there, and they're having a little conversation about making Middleton high-tech, and this is back in 2000, say, for instance. I'm in that corner where she is right now for almost 2 hours.
Wow.
I wanted to chew the table, I was so mad. So I got up and I was walking out, she said, where are you going? You had an appointment. I said, I had an appointment 2 hours ago. I don't have an appointment now, and I left. So then I followed the instructions every step of the way. The house was built. 3.5 years later, I get a bill from the town of Middleton. $4,870 because one of the girls made a mistake. I said, really? I came up here like a maniac. And then I went down to Wolfboro, my lawyer down there, Walker Manvani, and I had the old man, and he drafted a letter. And then I got a conversation with one of the girls here, and well, we went over it, and your lawyer contacted us, and it was just a mistake. The secretary made a mistake. She didn't know what she was doing. And I said, it's not my problem that you hire incompetence. That is not my problem. Well, we forgave that. I said, you think I listened to your word now? It's in writing. You send a copy to my lawyer, and he'll make sure it gets to me. So I know all about incompetence.
But that's all been resolved.
But it cost me $700 to have it resolved
Right.
because of the incompetence. That's not right.
Well, we've moved past there, so.
We're long
We'll
past
see.
that, so,
We'll see.
long past it,
Right.
so.
So if you want to go to the fund balance, if I'm reading this correctly,
Yeah.
there's 2 ways to read this. But I'm thinking we have about $800,000 in the fund balance now.
Really?
Because we have like $1 million, but we have money that we've appropriated and not expended that you have to carry forward. So I'm looking about 800,000. I've emailed Jen, but she wasn't in today to confirm my number.
Wow.
But it's in that ballpark.
So basically, a fund balance is what we operate the town on, okay? If we get money from outside resources, it goes into the fund balance. We had a $17,000 through the last audit that's been carried over for like 5 years from the school, from way back when, okay? They said, listen, this is gonna go away, we're just carrying it, nobody has any idea what it's from, where it came from, whatever, and we put that right back into the fund balance. So at some later date, if we decide to lower the tax rate, we can take that money to do that with. We like to keep $500,000 in there at all times to pay the town bills, okay? So nobody paid taxes for like 3 months, we'd have enough to pretty much cover everything for 3 months. After that, they'll have to get a loan from the bank, a TAN note, tax anticipation note, to pay our bills. We don't ever want to do that. We've had to do that once since I've been selectman, and we don't want to do that any longer, so we keep $500,000. So that leaves us $300,000 approximately. So if we go to town meetings and vote for stuff, Last year, we had a fire truck. So you have the principal and you have your interest. Well, we paid off the fire truck, and we saved about $10,000 on interest. Because we had the money there, but taxpayers voted to get rid of it. So, no, we have the money, spend it, save 10 grand overall. And that's back there in your pocket, so to speak, so. You know, so we do little things like that. We have a problem like with the old, highway department over there. We had, what, 2 different things. One was the roof,
Right.
and the second part was all the
Insulation.
walls of, all the insulation falling in like that. So we spent about $100,000 to repair that highway garage over there. But once you tear it apart, everything has to come up to code. So some of that money came out of that as well.
Joe, do you have those papers still floating around here that you handed out at the meeting? Yeah, here we go. Can I make copies of these for them? Your,
Yeah, but I'd like to move on
Sure.
with today's agenda.
So basically, that's how, the fund balance works. We can use it to pay off stuff like that, or to reduce taxes.
Okay, IT service proposal from Certified Computers, I think that's the name of the company.
It is.
Okay. Right now, we have a contract for a company to service our computers. If they go down, if we get a new computer, they help to install it. Laura, we've had some problems with this company, as in they don't call back, they don't come in time. How much
Very
are we
poor.
paying per month for that service?
We're paying a little over $1,000 a month.
And this is a different company, offering about the same amount for, the same price. But as near as you can tell, what you've heard, what's different about this company?
Like, they're more, they're quicker with their services. I've
Okay.
called around to other municipalities that
Right.
actually have this company, and there's no complaints.
Okay,
So I researched their contract a little bit.
okay, you wanna
So
explain it, please?
there's 2 different plans. There's the one plan where we own all of our own equipment like we do now, kind of like the same thing we have with Armon. Well, they'll come in and, fix things. If you get new equipment, it'll cost you a little more to set it up, stuff like that. Or they have the one where they own all your equipment. So if a computer breaks, they replace it. Done. You have no problems. I wouldn't go with the second one, only because it's really a waste of our money as small of a town. Because if I buy 4 new computers every year, just say as a rotation, I'm only gonna spend $25,000 in 5 years. If I pay them, it's gonna be $62,000 in 5 years. I think it's a waste of money.
Well, yeah, and the price right now for the first plan is $11.60. We're probably paying about that right now.
Right, it's like $100 more, I think, for this one.
And
But if they're,
the second one is 1978, but they own all the stuff and, yeah, no.
like I said, if we go on a 4-year rotation, you're still gonna,
We'll save
it's
money
gonna
by
be,
doing our own.
Has this
definitely.
company stopped by to take a look at the?
Oh, they've been here several times, yeah.
Okay,
They've done a whole walkthrough, we've gone to all the buildings. They've been in Franklin, so a couple of the officers already knows the staff.
I know that some repairs can be made off-site.
Yep.
They offer that as well as sending someone out.
Yep.
Do they offer any timetable from when you call to when someone gets here?
I believe it's a few hours,
Okay.
if they can't do it remotely.
Well,
Well, they're out of Northfield, New Hampshire, so.
that's not Northwood.
No, it's owned by
Tilton, Warren, Tilton, Franklin, that area? Okay.
Yeah,
Just an hour away.
272 Tilton Road,
Northfield.
Northfield.
Okay.
So, so basically, a little bit more, so you deal with Armor more than we do. We just hear the stories,
Yeah.
okay? Not to put this on you, but what do you think? How do you feel about it?
Well, if we need to change, it doesn't matter who it is on the side at
Okay.
this point, as long as they're gonna fix our stuff and work with us. But I believe if you read it, I think you could do a 1 year.
Yeah, you can
I
try
would
some-
go with the 1
yeah.
year,
You can try 'em
just
out.
to, yeah. I would do at least just a 1 year and see how we do for the year.
What type of contract do we have right now with Amon?
I believe it was a 3-year, you gotta give them 30 days notice. So we
So
can
we
do
can
that.
break it with 30 days notice.
Because we're beyond the 3-year period now.
All right. Okay.
So I mean, and then there's a couple other options like for the mail server and all that, because we want to go to 365 so we don't have any email issues. So there's 2 different plans, and you can break them up, see who needs what, so they can work with that. And
Still for the same price though.
well, this is different than that. This
Okay.
is our email thing, yeah, which I already budgeted for this as well, because I knew we were gonna need something.
Okay.
So, but they also do backups off-site on everything, and, because I asked her a bunch of questions, but I know the answers in an
The
email.
two papers, the same company, just different
Yeah,
company?
this was my questions, I asked her about
Okay,
that
alright.
in her responses. Like, I wanna know if we could split up the email, like, does everybody need the most expensive one, or can we like do the ones that need, you know, the other programs that go with Word, you know, Word, Excel, Adobe, all that other stuff, and yeah, you can split it up, so like, you know, like code enforcement not necessarily uses that stuff, so we'll just give them a basic email. So it could be split up, so it'll save us a little money that way too, but,
I'm gonna make
I've
a
heard enough,
recommendation, we go with a one-year contract for Certified Computer Solutions LLC out of Northfield, New Hampshire.
Second. Any further discussion, any questions from anybody about this? The whole reason for doing this is we're not happy with the company we have, okay? It's one thing to have a computer break down, it's something else to have to wait days before they fix it, okay? For my own computer at home, I don't mind, but here we're trying to conduct business, and it's not good to wait that long. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? All right,
So send on a letter of 30-day notice, good time, the end of the month.
Do they charge you for phone calls as well when you call them? Do they charge you?
no, it's all included in their service agreement.
Oh, that's good.
The only thing that'll cost extra is like if we buy new equipment, they have to come here, set it up, that stuff, which, you know, what happens maybe once a year.
Aloha charges for your phone calls.
Oh, wow, yeah, no, we've never paid for that.
Well, then I think we're looking at is phone systems too, so.
Yeah, I've got, 4 different towns out there that I'm looking at, the only one that's responded so far is New Durham. With their phone company and, what was the other thing I was,
Internet.
oh, job descriptions for other, yeah.
okay, this next one is from the United States Department of Commerce. The United States Census Bureau invites your government, that's us, to participate in the 2020 Census Local Update of Census Addresses operation, as mandated by Census Address List. They're invited, it's not required. If we would like to help out getting a list of addresses to them in preparation for the 2020 census, they're asking us to join, but it's not mandatory, okay? So, this is the only opportunity offered to tribal, state, and local governments to review and update the residential list that the Census Bureau uses. Okay? So, any thoughts from anybody? It apparently does not cost anything to get into this. Laura, do we have anything that looks like an address list of all the
We
residents
can
in
print
town?
that.
Okay.
Is there a
Did you, did you show that to Gwen by any chance?
No, not yet.
is there a benefit to the town?
Right, do we get anything back from it after we, you know, because I'm assuming they're gonna provide this information and then they're gonna send out the census to those addresses, and do we recoup any of that information that comes back and says, oh, yeah, you have actually 600 students in town, or whatever,
Right.
when really we got 700, you know, I'm just saying. You know,
I worked with the census in 2010.
Yeah?
The only thing I could say about that, I did it in Wolfboro because it was a time when everybody was out of work. I was lucky enough to get chosen for that. What I found hard was if they're living on the lake, most people live in another state on the
Right.
water. So you'd have to go back. And I kept thinking, our federal government wastes a lot of money. I told you, nobody's here. But
Right.
I still had to go back and go back.
Well,
and
they're being counted someplace else in here.
yeah, when you couldn't, you had to have that document from them signed. And if you couldn't get them to sign it because they were living somewhere else.
All right.
So, I mean, I just thought it was kind of funny myself, but you just did what you were told to do. And then,
An accurate census can be beneficial and detrimental to the town. Funding from outside sources, state, federal government, is often based on population. So, if the population goes up, and you have records because you've given new addresses, new developments, that can be to our benefit. On the other hand, as has happened in some New England states, the census population has gone down. And that would serve to decrease possible funding awarded to Middleton. Okay? I don't mind filling it out in conjunction with.
I would
Gwen.
ask Gwen, cause she had a bunch of that stuff upstairs that I'd been giving her.
Okay.
So
All
I
right.
don't know if she did anything with it, but it was thick.
I mean, you worked on it, any thoughts? Yay or nay? Should we do it? Should we not do it? Doesn't
Give it
matter.
to Gwen.
Just go to the box, that's what I do.
I would table
Right,
it
so
for
it's
Gwen.
not duplication of effort, I mean.
Yeah, I mean,
she's
she
already
was
doing it.
working on, she was
Okay.
confused, but she did have
Alright.
some stuff.
Do you have any feelings one way or another?
Give it to Gwen.
No.
I'll go the majority.
The way I look at
Yes.
it, if you don't know enough, have Gwen look at
All
it.
right. She's our assessing clerk. Yes.
The way I understand it, they're going to do the census in either case, and what they're asking you is a pre-census inventory of
Right,
addresses.
addresses, yeah.
So my question is, what benefit would there be for the town of Middleton to do
Their work.
their work?
Well, I think it would be just providing a list of addresses. It would not be going out door to door.
I understand that, but
Well, again, not so much in Middleton, but if there was a housing development with 100 new homes that was not there in the 2010 census, do we want to tell or provide information for the census takers so that they go there? Well, yeah, it increases the population, which could increase our funding. On the other hand, again, this is not the case in Middleton, but if a third of the houses in town were now empty due to a recession, do we want to have the census people compile that and say, well, there's fewer people in here, so we don't need as much funding, we don't get our share of the funding, or get too much money? I don't know. What are your thoughts? Good idea, bad idea?
as I said, it really has nothing to do with the census in relation to Middleton, because we don't have any new developments or
Right.
any major areas that have been depopulated.
Right,
So once again, I just question why they would want you to provide them
oh,
with that information. that-
well, we know what's going on. I assure you, Washington does not know what's going on in Middleton. All right, next. Down on Murray Albert Road, 242 New Durham Road.
Okay.
Okay, I was gonna
And Carol Schuster, yeah. So I'll give you the.
No. No.
I mean, I don't have any ownership in the property other than through my wife, so,
He's asked spoke to me.
you know, but, you know, we've been dealing with the town of Middleton, and, I don't know, I have other copies if anybody wants to see them. Sure. And, this is just a letter that, and, you know, this kind of goes to that question of incompetence, really. I think we got kind of caught in the middle, with what was going on in the town and the change in the clerk's office. You know, we came in to try to catch up on some taxes owed to the town on the land. This is just land. Carol owns her house independently. And, this house was owned by their parents for 50 years. We kind of got caught in the middle, as the letter says, and came in on March 21st of 2017 and paid $1,464. And what we discovered later, we got a letter back from the town just recently that we actually owed 2015 taxes worth, with interest and everything, at $3,486. That $1,400 should have been applied to the most recent taxes. And, you know, so we're just really kind of miffed in terms of, you know, what went on here, you know? You know, we had, you know, we were dealing with Debbie, and then, so, you know, this is what's happened. And the property had a house on it, and we donated that house to the town for a exercise to burn it down. And, you know, we spent like $2,022 or $2,200 to get the house ready, which we were willing to do, and was definitely our benefit too. But the town, you know, got a great exercise. It was, if anybody was around to see it, it was really quite impressive what they did. And it provided some great training, you know, so we, you know, we're part of the town, through this land, and Carol's with her house, right next to it. So, you know, we're looking for maybe some help in terms of, with the taxes.
We had always thought we were caught up.
We thought we were caught up.
Pam was alive.
And then we get this letter that we owe $3,400, you know, for 2015 taxes. So, you know, we come before you folks to see if there's any type of remedy that you people can do to help us with this. I do, without really looking at it, I'll show you what, I didn't make copies of it, I should have probably. We had, let's see, the letters. They were sent it.
I remember your place, now, you remember had all the, Dale Whitney's old place, had all the tires and stuff. He made 15 trips down there.
Oh, yeah, they tried to
I
get
remember, because I never had
You
to
should
help
have
them
seen
load
what
down
he did to
there.
the inside of that
Remember
car.
that?
There's still a boat on that property.
Yeah, well, that's my son's boat, that'll,
We're gonna get that
I
out.
know the property.
yeah, you know, so,
It
but,
just dawned on me where it was.
Oh.
you know, so the taxes, we basically owe about $1,000 currently on the land. But this 3,400 still remains open. And we've been making payments, as you can see on the back page, all along, or trying to catch up. And then we get hit with this letter, you know, requesting $3,400.
By April 19th, or,
Yeah, you know, so,
All right, when you're ready, sir, I got a couple of questions,
sure,
suggestions here.
yep. Go ahead.
Am I correct in saying that March 21st, 2017 was still dead?
Yes.
Yes, that was still dead.
Debbie O'Toole?
Yeah.
Because that would have been after the town meeting.
Yeah, it wasn't much longer after that she was
It
gone.
was right around that time that she left.
All right,
And we had my mother-in-law was involved, Kay, who turned the land over to us. You know, she was involved, I mean, she let it come in and make, you know.
she did, I drove her up and I
Yeah,
helped pay
I mean-
for the taxes since 1994. So
Yeah.
I have copies of that. My
Mm.
mother and I paid for it, and that was way before my house. And then we became friendly with Pam Frazier, and Pam Frazier, I would speak to her personally, and then we would come up and make 800 or whatever, but it was constant. I mean, but what astounds me too, the other part of the incompetence, which was way back, and I have the dates and I have the lawyers. My mother used to go to Florida, and she had a house in Florida, in Daytona Beach. So she would go down, so this is, oh gosh, I mean, way before my house, so it was way before 2000. So there was a pie-shaped parcel of land there, and there was a dispute, Steve Slavinsky, that was him. So there was a parcel of land on the left-hand side when you drive up the little driveway to my mother's
The house
cottage.
there now, White House.
The pie-shaped parcel of land. So what the town did was, they did a certified letter, or whatever they did, and
No,
they
it wasn't.
put it in her door. She wasn't there. She
It
was in
wasn't-
Florida.
I got it, I happened to go up to check the mail, and I went in the back door and I saw this, you know, like a flyer, you were having an auction on that piece
On the
of
property, and it went off at auction.
And
And
I,
there she was in Florida, and this pie shape of land in Florida, plus the money that we spent for the lawyers. So
And
there's so many things.
has that been resolved, or is that still?
Oh, that's been
on?
resolved.
No,
Yeah,
that was years ago, but the point
Right.
being is that she's owned the land with her husband for so many years.
Right.
And when you come to a place like this, and I call it Mayberry, because when I first built the house, I could make a phone call to the police station, and if I went back to Boston to work, they would go in and they would shut my windows. You know how comforting it is to have that feeling when you work in Boston and everybody's at you? It seems to have changed, that's my point. It was what I thought was the greatest place on earth to something different now, and I don't know why. It's not as warm and fuzzy as it once was. That's my opinion.
it was like
So
open.
this
You know,
just shows you the 2017 taxes.
Right.
the two portions, and then the big portion,
I'm bringing it all
the
up.
$3,300 that was
But it's
for
true.
2015.
Didn't it?
All of a sudden, it shows up on our door.
But it's still giving confidence.
Again, I was not there, but I'm gonna offer an opinion as to what I think happened,
Mm-hmm.
okay? One or three of you came in to pay the taxes,
Mm-hmm.
presented the tax money
Mm-hmm.
to the tax clerk.
Mm-hmm.
Of the three of you, nobody said this is back taxes, and at the same time, Debbie O'Toole did not say, is this for back taxes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So, I think she took the money and said, oh, I guess this is for the current tax.
We always came in. We
Yeah,
did
we
come
always
in.
came in.
Right.
And I, what I always noticed is she would always say it was Carol that came in,
Right.
and that was
So-
us, we came in, so, but we have our, the checks and things like that, so we figured, no big deal at all.
Regardless of how the miscommunication occurred, I'm interested in getting it fixed.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree that you owe taxes from
Yes.
2015?
Well, not necessarily 2015, but do we owe taxes? Yes.
We owe for 2017.
Except that's been paid, right?
No, we're gonna pay,
We're paying
that's
it
due,
before
that's
April,
due.
April
That's
19th.
due.
We will pay it before April 19th.
Okay.
It's
The issue
15
comes,
that's due.
the issue
So
comes,
is there a, let me ask the question.
The
I
issue-
think I've asked it before. Unless it's specified, it goes to your current taxes and not the back taxes, so say you have a pay, I always thought, or maybe I'm wrong or I'm misunderstanding, but I always thought when somebody brings in and say they owe some tax money, they give you $1,000, it goes to the oldest
That's
tax.
what I thought.
Exactly.
It doesn't go that.
No.
You don't have a
That's
lien.
why I always thought the same thing.
Absolutely,
Even people that
absolutely.
pay online, they cannot go back and pay old taxes. It goes right to your
Well,
first
what if
one.
you have a lien on it and then
This
it
is-
applies to, you're gonna go on your credit
She
report?
gave me,
That's-
she
that's-
gave
Well,
me
that
this
doesn't make
paper.
any sense at all that it would go to the current.
But that may be a state statute, we have no choice in it.
Well, that's online, she's Laura's saying if you pay it
Online,
Oh,
you
online.
cannot go back.
Right.
You can't say
So
I'm paying
if-
14, you have to pay
Right.
what is due. This was given to me by the tax collector. She said this was his payment in 17, and it's actually attached to what was handed to them. So this is where the money went. That's what she told me, because that was in the file.
Okay, that's the same thing you just gave us. That's what you
No,
just gave us.
no, that's different. This is a new one.
Okay.
That's 17.
Okay.
That's what they attached to the
We do owe
payment.
17,
But they were under
that's a
the
given.
impression, when they made this payment, that it was going to the 15. When it not, it went to the paper
Okay.
that was with it,
Which was,
instead of, which was 16.
So we find ourselves,
Okay, so-
big, huge bill here.
just help me out here.
Mm-hmm.
2014, taxes are paid.
Yes, they are,
Okay.
Yep.
2015, looks like it's 3,000,
400 and whatever, yep.
which
Now, whether that
some of
got,
that is probably interest.
yes, a lot of, some of it, yeah.
Most of it, I think, is.
2000,
Yeah, a lot of it's interest.
2016, paid,
Paid, yeah.
okay? 2017,
No, we owe that, yeah.
okay, so
And that's this right.
some of it's been paid, but there's more to pay.
There's more.
$1,438.38.
When we came in at 17, but that money got applied to,
17.
So,
it got on an over. I mean, that's where the.
That's where the confusion
I
is.
mean, that's,
Right.
where did it go? You know, where
Well,
did
it
it
got
go?
applied to me in here,
Right.
probably the most current year when it should have been applied to the,
Because you can't take penalties away.
okay.
But I don't know that number, because she didn't give that to me unless
So
I
we can
tried to
figure
go
that out and
around.
then let them know.
Right. Right, but you can't take penalties.
Alright.
That's part of it.
So, how much is still owed for 2017? Looks like
Total right here,
1,438 was applied to it.
17
Right here,
is two.
17 is this.
These top
right,
two
right,
ones.
Top two ones,
Yep.
right here, see, 2017.
So total amount, one's 325.56 total, and the other,
Right,
and the other was 751.50.
Right,
That's
right.
About
About
1,000.
1,000, over
And
1,000.
that's what you're gonna pay,
Before the April.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
right, yeah.
that's not a
Pay that.
concern, you're gonna, the only
I
question
can
is.
write a check for that right now, yeah.
Okay.
1,000.
2015.
Yeah.
Alright, how do we fix 2015?
Well, that's what we were just talking about, okay? We can waive if you, some of it, but if there's penalties, that's a state thing, we cannot waive those, regardless of the situation, doesn't matter.
But
We can't do
penalty's
that
not the
like
same
that.
as interest. or
Right,
is
but
it?
the interest like that, what would have to be figured out is what is the penalty and how much is the interest on that
Right.
money, and then if we decide to go ahead and waive the interest, then we can
That
do
would
that,
Help.
yes.
What are your plans in terms of 2015, in terms of?
Well, we're
paying?
looking for your guidance, you know, oh, yeah, I mean, yeah,
2015,
or 2015, yeah, we're looking for your guidance on it, you know, we're looking to help us out with that, you know?
If,
That's why we're here.
Right, go ahead.
if we go ahead with the tax collector and Laura,
Right.
figure out what the penalty is and the interest, I recommend that we just waive the interest part. Like I said, we can't do anything penalty, it's the state thing, it's mandated, we can't change that regardless of why you're in the situation, all right? But that would be some relief.
I mean,
And so and the interest could be, I mean, I'm not, I don't wanna guess, but.
interest is around $800 or so, you know?
900.
It's 900 some odd
900,
dollars.
whatever it is, yeah,
So
but,
if you can get, $500-600 or whatever it is back, I mean, that's something.
I mean,
Yeah,
Are you looking for a time period in which to pay this off?
we'd like to,
I'm
you
not
know,
interested in
you know,
taking the property.
yeah, by the,
But when you get a registered letter, it sounds like that's what you want.
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. Like,
Which
I
is
mean,
why you're here,
you
to
know,
talk to
yeah.
us.
It's almost
I mean,
like
you
the
got this-
20th, that's it, you're
I
going
mean,
in
we'll
and
pay,
changing
you know,
everything,
we could
taking
pay
the title.
$1,000 now and, you know, maybe another 1,000, you know, by the end of next month, you know?
Well, I can give you 1,000, I can give you
Well,
1,500.
Could this whole thing be cleared up by the end of the year?
Oh,
End of this
yeah,
year?
definitely, definitely.
So by the end of the year, you'd be done with, 2015,
I'll come back up
minus
this week.
whatever we can take
I'll come
off.
back up this
Yeah.
week and we'll pay for, 2017.
Right.
That's $1,000.
Do you think we
I'll
have
write
that
that right
information by
now.
Friday?
I can
So
write
yeah, we
that
pay
down.
I got
15.
it.
I'm really not interested in taking your property.
Yeah.
I believe there was a,
So that's what we need to- so, Laura's got a
And I
good
leave it
point.
with them?
Yeah, go ahead.
hold on.
Laura's got a good point.
Okay.
You wanna
Hold
pay
on,
out the
please.
2015 first, because right now you're still accumulating the interest and the
Right,
penalty
right,
phase.
okay, yeah, yeah.
So,
Right.
I would go until, no, if the Laura could, I'm not trying to put something on you, because I don't know if you can do it or not, and I know it's Kathleen's job as well.
Mhm.
But if you guys can figure out that 2015, the penalty and interest like that, let these guys have a phone call and say, bring a check up for this, and we'll
Will you
waive
know
this,
by
and you'll be,
Wednesday?
and
Will you
you'll,
know by
and you do
Wednesday?
it.
Cause I can come in on Wednesday, I'm gonna have my roots done tomorrow, so I won't be here tomorrow.
My roots are fine, but you know, I can
Oh,
come up, I
not
can come
root
up.
canal.
No, roots.
Okay.
So basically, if you have by the end of the week, just in case something happens,
Yeah.
will that work?
Are you agreeable with
No.
getting this cleared up by the
Sure.
end of the year?
And
Uh,
she would be in on Saturday, because it's the last Saturday.
That's right, 9 to 12.
You're required to get notification by law.
Mm-hmm,
The next step after that is to come to us, which is exactly why you're here,
Mhm, mhm.
okay?
okay.
We're not in the business of taking property if
Thank
we
you.
can avoid it.
Yeah.
We're in the business of running the town, not
Mhm.
taking
Right.
people's property.
We don't have the property, we have to pay for liability insurance, that put it, as long as the property's in town possession, we don't wanna spend the money.
People come to us, we try to work with them. It's the ones that just blow us off that make it hard to deal with.
Yeah.
But you folks are here tonight and let's
Well,
Well,
I mean,
this
we
is
can
the
just
Middleton that I
resolve.
knew and
I mean,
loved.
we'd be happy
Right now.
if we can, you know, we'll pay 2017 and we pay the taxes on 2015, even though one of the issues we had was that the house sat there for the last 8 or 9 years and it wasn't even usable, you know, I mean, we tried to come to the town and get it reduced to land, but we had a house there, you know, that was, I guess, on us, you know, we had a house that was no good.
We
It was no-
had a tenant, you know Dale Glidden.
Sure.
So then I drove up there one day and I got his girlfriend, Annie, used to go to my mother, over to my house. And I used to buy Annie from my house. And so then I went up there, again, like a steamroller. And one of the policemen was there, it was when that situation was going on, and then I went in. And he took, and I have pictures of the cabinets, he took the cabinets off of the wall that I bought from Grossman's. I went with Bob LaPierre and we bought the cabinets. And they were all over the front, near to the left and the front. He took the doors and the cabinets and used it for wood, for the wood burning stove. He broke the stove, he took every piece of panel off the wall. I couldn't believe it, and my mother was alive at the time. And she said, I wanna go see. I said, your heart could never take this. Your heart could never take it. So then finally, he brought, I knew there was no money. He wouldn't give us any money. I mean, he was just a total nutcase. Drove me crazy. And,
It's in the
so
past.
then what he tried to do, I mean, that loser, what he tried to do was, he thought because my mother was the age she was, on my mother's soul, and this got back to me, everything got back to me, and
Can
he
I
said,
just say something?
wait a minute.
My mother was a
I
good
need to
hearted.
wrap
I
this
know
up.
it goes on, but he said to her, he said, I'm gonna get that old lady to sign the land over me. Well, anyway, make a long story short, we got it out of there, but we went to a meeting with the lawyer, and I took $1,000 from him for my mother, but it was just the damage he did with, it was, you couldn't put a dog in there, so it was really not livable from a long time before that, is my point.
Okay, all right, you wanted to.
I just wanted to say my mother was a good hearted person. He lived there pretty much for free.
All right,
I mean, you know.
They lived there for free, she lent him money.
Yeah, he would do something like steal the electric off the pole, get it shut off. Then when it get turned on, my mother would pay the bill. So he was not paying her anything to stay there, so.
Okay, so,
Laura, do you understand what you
Yep,
need to do?
I just need a phone
Okay.
number, just in case I have any
Sure.
questions, can you give me
Okay,
a phone
and
number
you
on
folks
it?
understand where we're headed with
And we
this?
thank you very much for that.
appreciate it.
Thank you,
Uh,
Joe.
So, I'm done.
Laura, can you
Yeah.
draft a letter kind of outlining what we've stated? And
Thank you.
could we have it ready for
It's a
next
good job.
meeting for us to sign?
I
These
grew
folks
up
can come
here.
in
I used
after you call them.
snowmobile
Okay.
up Silver
Yep.
All
Street.
right?
Get taken care of, be done with it.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you so
Yeah,
much.
Thank you
Alright.
so,
Very
so
good,
much.
thank you.
Good,
Very
you're welcome to stay, or if you have,
You want your
I told
paperwork
you,
back,
I'll come
or?
back and have my roots done.
Whatever, you guys all set?
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Better-
thank you so
better
much.
fold
I
it
think
for
I'll
this.
keep mine up and just put it.
Yeah, well, you know,
All right,
all right, burning that house
Good.
down, something.
yeah, I remember
They did a great thing.
I
I
have
thought
all
that
the
was,
pictures.
that
It
was a
very,
good thing.
very emotional, but they did a really good job.
They
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
It was
Did you
amazing
go by
to
it? They
watch.
set up the pools and all that
See
stuff?
how they do it?
That was cool.
Because they did,
It's a
they did
multi-town
some kind of plywood on the
Yeah,
roof.
yeah.
So they build a fire underneath, and then the guys would have their gas masks on and show them how, what to do with
Well,
combustion,
it's-
how, and they
If
just, it was
the
really
airstrip is
interesting.
still there,
Oh, it is.
okay? But there's some issues with permits in terms of moving forward with more progress on there, so.
You think it'll happen?
What?
The airstrip down there?
That I was curious about.
He's had problems with permits from the state, and I think he's had extensions, so I'm not sure where he is right now, but,
You wanna go?
don't hold your breath waiting for it to be done
Let's go.
this month.
No, I was.
Or even-
Well, they wanna move it.
Yeah.
Next
I
year.
don't take it up enough
That's
time.
right.
Oh,
Thank you so
for
much.
coming.
Thank you.
He's got
We're
some
here
nice
till we're
spots
done.
down there for your parking and your own private.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you. Sorry if I was a little aggressive.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you.
You get to bed, get it out.
Thanks, guys.
It's
I drive by it every day.
I bet.
Tony and Joanne.
on
Tony and
the-
Joanne?
I live on the backside of South.
Oh, you do?
I know
Thank
it is.
Well,
good.
thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay. Next issue. I am confused and I'm looking for help from either you or you. Okay? I am trying to
What'd you
keep
do?
track of the words new police cruiser. Okay? Going back a ways, we've got what I call the older SUV. That's out of the picture. That's, we have a white Dodge Charger. Subsequent to that, we have a black Dodge Charger. Subsequent to that, we just got a new black and white, I think it's a Ford SUV.
Yeah.
Anything else?
The old SUV that was purchased, I forget how many years ago now, has hit over 130 some odd thousand, 140,000. So they're looking to replace that as well.
Okay, but nothing decided
No.
as of yet, so they're looking. All right? Anybody else have any input that's seen in this?
I think you ought to
Laura,
number them the way you
anything?
do the buses.
Oh, I agree, I'm just trying to get caught, I wish Chief were
Did you
here to
say
answer.
number them, Joanne, is that what you just said?
Yeah,
They are numbered,
They are numbered by plate number.
there you go.
and I think they were
Track
the
of
new
it,
one.
what's the problem?
Did they?
They have another black and white one.
Well, the money from the detail money that is in there to
Right.
be able to purchase it, and if, you know, they have that one that has the mileage on it, and it needs to be placed by the state and federal guidelines, then, let's.
Can you talk with
So,
chief to,
Yeah,
So
let's
the
find out where we are with it?
So if the, I guess my question would be, is if the money's in the detail, then they'll pay for it out of the detail, do you have to approve that because it comes out of the detail, even though that money comes from detail work?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't,
yeah, we still, yes.
all right, I wasn't sure about that,
So,
just because.
I mean, I'm the liaison with the police department, so basically Chief Blodgett and Lieutenant Noble, this is what we get. The last one we have, the SUV, has this much mileage on it. Obviously, there's more hours than there is just mileage because of idle time and that sort of thing like that. So it's hit the criteria for replacement by the minimum size guidelines by the feds.
But no, it's just, I was just curious that
So-
you have to oversee the
Yes.
detail.
So what they can do is
Right.
they can turn around and put it out to bid, they put it out to bid to try to get a good price, whatever, and once that comes through like that, they order it, and then they let us know they're gonna order it, and we usually will cut a check so they can pay for it.
Yeah, no, I just didn't know how the detail account.
The same is true when Rick wanted a new truck. If there was money in the account, capital reserve fund, it has to be approved through the selectmen. And we get an ambulance, even though there's a revolving fund for the ambulance, it's approved through the selectmen.
I just didn't know about that detail.
I feel those people should sit and listen to us that way.
Well, I don't know,
I was about ready to move the question.
Well, sometimes people need
Venting.
Yeah.
a chance to vent, and I think they were happy when they left.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really not interested in taking
problem
their
is-
property.
The problem is people like that don't sit and listen to the business operations of town will come back again with the next problem that they bring on themselves.
I think it's an honest mistake on
Yeah.
both parts.
Yeah.
Clearly, the paper says 2017, even though they thought they were paying for 2015. Okay?
A lot of people don't understand that they go to current unless you
Yeah,
say
and-
different, yeah.
Well,
It sounds like they're willing to pay, you just, get it straightened out.
Well, they learn
Get right,
that
check,
if you're
find
not
out what you're
current,
paying
I mean, the penalty phase is, they gotta pay, you
Right.
know, for not doing it the proper way, so, you know.
It's kind of interesting that their list of payments said 2014, 2014, 2016. Excuse me?
Alright, yeah.
You would have thought they might have questioned why did you
Yeah,
put
you
this in
think?
2015, but,
Right.
you know.
Alright,
Fine.
One forgiveness.
I'm looking for some information from you folks on the planning board.
Yep.
First, a little history.
2.
The zoning board has been resurrected.
Yes, I
Like a
know.
great phoenix.
Nice going.
We actually have people looking for a variance, we have a public hearing Wednesday, as a matter of fact. At the moment, Laura has graciously helped out, publishing notices, sending out letters. At some point, there could very well be a zoning board clerk. The budget has money for a zoning board clerk, $200 a year.
Wow.
Well, but remember, unlike the planning board, which
Yeah, you
meets
don't
every
need as
month,
much. Yeah,
zoning board only meets when there's a reason to meet.
right.
So my question is, I know how much the planning board clerk gets per month. How many hours does the person work?
She works quite a few.
Well, is that 5 or is that
Well,
20 or?
It all depends. Last year, redoing, well, we redid the book, she probably worked 20 hours a week trying to get that book.
Okay, but that was money from,
Yeah.
that's all been paid for. Whatever she did, she
SCIP,
received
we had
money.
to do stuff like that. Right now, what we're doing is the master plan. She's bringing that all over to us and getting that done.
So how many hours a week is she getting paid now?
She probably getting
How much is she
paid
working for?
probably 10 hours,
Okay. All right.
I would say.
So that figures out to be
40 hours a month.
Their gross pay is 163 per month,
Yeah,
divided by 10 hours is $16 an hour, but if it's more than that,
she's working probably not 10 hours, she's probably working roughly 10 hours a week right now.
but isn't this amount per month?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that's 10 hours a week, that's 40 hours a month.
Well, if that's true, she's not getting much money per hour.
No.
Okay.
But, you know, that runs different ways, it all depends on what we throw on her as
Yeah,
a board.
she may have nothing for a couple of months, where she has to just go show up on 1-2 meetings and that's it.
Then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
bango, we hear, you know, she's got paperwork coming in from people that she's gotta get, she's gotta go to the registry, she gotta do, you know, so, so there's it varies.
Okay, so I've got an idea of what to suggest for a zoning board clerk
Yeah,
and still stay within a $200 budget. I don't think we're talking a lot of money here.
No, and you're talking from, it's probably gonna be 15, 16 bucks
Yeah,
more
which
on
is
average.
about what this is.
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's good. All right. Next item, please.
If you
Whoops.
get a good one, don't let her go.
All right, good advice. We had a non-public meeting, started just before this. I think we now have to vote on whether we seal or unseal the minutes. Okay?
Have we, yeah, we used to see them before, didn't we? Because financial stuff.
You really don't have to, there's nothing in it.
Yeah, I'd recommend not sealing them.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right, in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And looking ahead, just as these folks talked about taxes in a public setting, I'm not sure we're supposed to be doing any of this in non-public, okay? I've heard some cases of law, and I'm getting the impression that all of that stuff about paying for property taxes and so forth is done in public. Some of the meetings are a little uncomfortable, but you've watched them in Wakefield, they're all done in the public.
Taxes are public record.
Just like
Yeah.
these folks had to talk about their situation. I think, Joe, we should be doing in the future, all of them in public. The one tonight was already scheduled before I had read this, so I didn't want to change it, but it's not comfortable that these folks presented their case, and we're all still talking to each other.
Yeah, well, the thing about it is, now that you know that it should not be a non-public, which I never knew when I was
Yeah.
just like, we always did them in
Yeah.
non-public. But it gives the people who are here that never see it, what the actual working body has to do,
Right.
you know? And what they can do, so it's a lesson for everybody.
Certainly not trying to embarrass people, but you're right, taxes are a matter of public records, right? So,
Well, you go into the kiosk and like that, look up anybody's name and see what the status is.
Oh, sure.
I mean, it's common right out there, so.
there are still reasons for a non-public, just, I'm thinking paying taxes or not paying them is not one of the reasons. Personnel matters should be
Oh, yeah,
non-public.
definitely.
So, about a couple weeks ago, I kind of added up how much is owed back taxes to the town from everybody in town. It would cost like $400,000 or $500,000.
Oh, yeah, it's quite a bit.
Yeah,
That could go on that.
Because I keep paying the current and all the interest we're getting on the old.
Yeah, but that goes to the fund balance, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Hey, don't say nothing. So,
Got a question from
I
the
have a
audience.
question, I
Yes.
just when it gets opened up, I have
oh,
a
okay.
request.
Are we done with that?
Yeah.
Okay,
what's that?
any other topics? Fire at will, I'm not Will.
Yes, okay, so as a budget committee,
I'll take it.
There's another
Member?
budget, right?
and, we talked about this at the last meeting, and I told Joe that I was gonna come before the board, selectmen or whatever, and inquire about potentially having the training, the on-site training like it had happened in the past, I guess a number of years ago. And I
Right.
thought it would be advantageous if we could do that all at one time, maybe, because we have pretty much 4 new members. But also, I know that Joe had commented that it probably would benefit Chief Blodgett, because he's fairly new to that budget process, and probably maybe Kathy, because she's new last year. So, because I know there is a cost to doing that, other than going, going to one that's somewhere maybe in Concord or another town, because I'm not sure if they're open, if they have one in another town, do you know if that it's open to other people, you know, or, to look at you, I don't know why.
I know that they don't have them like now, but
Right.
like come closer to like September and stuff, they do
Yeah.
hold.
I know
Like,
they.
some of them might be in
Yeah.
Concord, some might be
Yeah.
in like Pastow or wherever they're holding them.
Yeah.
They hold them all over.
Oh, okay,
So Laura's actually looked online, and to do that, they'll do it, but it's gonna be $600
right,
to do that.
so,
600?
Then they will have somebody come from the municipal resources over, like we did before, sit down with everybody and go through the book to show you the joys of budgeting.
Well, I think it's money well spent,
Okay.
okay,
I agree.
based on,
We can put it out to, like, not just for Tammy's here, but, I mean, it's 2017 is the last update. We had it in 2014, so if there's new laws, RSAs and things have changed, to stay current with the stuff like that, I would offer it to, you know, them, the school,
right?
Ken Gary, anybody
There's
from
also
them.
webinars, I believe, that you can get from DRA. I've watched quite a few in the years that I've.
so, yeah, so with that, and that's fine too, I think as far as that, we would need like the ID and the login to do that.
Oh, I think some of them are like YouTube. They're
Oh,
just, yeah.
Oh, okay, well, I just,
Yeah.
okay.
But there's a lot to be gained from an actual class.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
We can
But no,
ask
but I mean,
questions.
it's, any resource is good.
Well, my
resource.
question is, we sit there and do this, what the budget committee gonna have to finance it?
We don't have
That's-
it,
yeah.
we don't have a budget.
We don't have a line for that.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But I do believe
I
there's,
think, well,
there's training in
there's
3
reason.
other lines that maybe
Yeah.
should squeak out $200.
I'd like to go to it.
So,
Well, the other thing is, if we do it, we have somebody come here, maybe we could put out New Durham or Milton or whatever, Wakefield, if they have some people who would be interested in like that, maybe they could pay for part of that $600. Just put it out there as a, you know, let's contribute together.
If
So,
we're talking August to September, the town hall will be finished by then, so we can have a room bigger than this.
yeah,
Just a moment then, would you folks prefer it time of day, morning, afternoon, evening?
no, I'm
Evening.
available most anytime, I would just ask that you stay away like the last day of the month and the first 2 business days of the month, because that's my busy time
Okay.
for me. I'm just saying.
Evening would be better for me,
Okay,
but
well, could evening be as early as 5 o'clock? 6 o'clock?
no, you could if you let everybody
6
know ahead of
o'clock,
time.
5:30.
Okay,
We can try, but I think that we got the last one, which was 3 o'clock the
Yeah,
last time,
okay.
because they wanna be home by like,
right,
but I can check, things might
Right.
change.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm good with any time, I'm just
Right.
those, that time of the month.
Would you
as
two
far
say
as reporting.
anytime between now and September? Sooner the better?
I think the sooner the, I would
Okay.
prefer the sooner the better, because we're trying to
Right.
start
Laura,
off
do
on
you
the
wanna
right
follow
foot.
up on that, or do you want me to? I'm available to
I can email, I mean, that's all it
Okay.
is an
Right.
email to the trainer.
join.
I'd like to make a sort of a half request, half suggestion to you. Start now, because at some point in time, there's always going to be a turnover of personnel.
Right,
Somewhere in your books, make a consolidated list of sources for information.
yes, oh, yes, that is kind of on our, projection to do.
I'm surprised
On
Marcia
your
didn't have
round
all
list?
that stuff.
Yes.
She had all the
And your round to it list?
No, it was, we discussed it at the last meeting as like, you know, John Mullen was here, you know, like having goals, you know, I would
Right.
say objectives or whatever, to, you know, what we want to get to. I mean, we aren't gonna do it in one meeting, but, you know, this is part of it, is starting to pull
But
the
if
stuff
you have,
together.
if you have a consolidated list of places and courses that someone could take, when you get a new member, say, here's what.
Right, yep, and that's what the idea is to have when some, you know, our members will have some type of packet.
It's unfortunate
Yeah.
that wasn't done in the past.
Right.
Going forward, it can be
We're
fixed.
learning. We're getting there.
Roger, you have something?
I'm gonna hold off,
Okay.
until we're done.
Okay. All right. Joy, one other item, I might have mentioned it before, but I want to make sure it's on the record. When I stepped down from serving on the Stratford Regional Planning Commission representing Milton, Mackenzie Bryson, is that her name?
Yeah.
Took my place. Did a fine job, except now she's going to school and she's working and going to school and she can't attend the meetings. So I'll be glad to represent Middleton again at the TAC meetings and so forth. By the way, just for the records, this is the money that we spend for Stratford Regional Planning. They came by today, I was here, Roger was here, Cynthia Copeland, the director of Stratford Regional Planning, and one of her assistants came by to see what the town could use for help. Well, one of the things that they talk about is helping to determine what roads are in what condition and develop some sort of master plan for repairing them. I pointed out that Rick Washburn knows more of this stuff in his head than these people could ever learn. But Ed said it would still be helpful to have a long-range plan on updating the roads. So that's a good service. Phase one was to ride around town and these people decide which roads are in what condition. Phase two is to develop a plan, and we asked them to come back and visit some of the roads that have been finished and some of the roads that are in worse shape than ever, like, I don't know, Ridge Road. But some roads have been improved. The lower section of Pinkham, Shore, Owen Road are better now than when they looked at it last summer. The second thing that they are talking about is an inventory of our culverts. Again, I kind of think Rick knows where every culvert is in this town, but these folks actually go down into the culvert and get the diameter, and they try to figure out the flow and what happens if you make this culvert bigger, what happens downtown, downstream, and so forth. So it's an interesting talk about culverts. Anybody ever crawl in the culverts?
No, never will.
No, there's snakes in
Yeah,
there.
there are snakes there.
Yeah.
Only when the beaver plugged it up.
Yeah, so this gal who's gonna be all, 22 or 23, last summer with a helper, went out and looked at culverts in various towns. There's 18 towns that make up Stratford Regional. And part of her job was to get down there. She said, all I saw was frogs. Well, actually, she saw one snake and said, I didn't know we had water moccasins.
We don't.
No, they weren't.
We don't.
I didn't want to.
Black
No,
snake.
yeah, it's probably
It's just a
black
big black snake.
Right.
Oh, I hate snakes.
I just didn't want to tell you we
No,
don't have
right.
one. You do have to.
But if you're in the water with waders on,
Yeah, and a big black snake goes by you.
you're right, either in the water or now, some of these culverts are deep enough that this thing could be like shoulder high or something.
Yeah.
You look over and see the snake, it would be disconcerting to me.
Yeah, that's why I don't like snakes.
That's why I don't wanna let it.
Anyway, we had a pleasant talk with them. Thank you, Roger, for
Snakes are
coming.
good.
It was
Yeah.
very nice.
Yeah.
Very good snakes and did one.
They eat rats.
Right.
Well, it tells
Big
me
rats.
too, the stuff that we had
I
done
don't
with all
have-
these
I don't
guys.
Right.
Decon
Yeah.
takes care of that.
What we're on to, and it was good, I was here. I really enjoyed it.
The other thing we talked about was the possibility of doing something with Tanglewood.
Oh,
Okay. I was surprised that Cynthia Copeland, who's in charge of 18 towns, knows about Tanglewood in little tiny Middleton. You know all about it.
She knows
Yeah.
about,
Yeah.
she knows about the New Durham Road, which
Right.
is called the Middleton Road, which is great.
well, which was called, give me a minute, I'll think of it.
It's the dead road.
We might, while you're thinking, there's talk of doing directional road counts. Because Ed Brandon believes, and so do I, that there's a lot of traffic that starts over in Maine, does a little zippity-doo, comes up Middleton Hill.
Oh, they go across Line Hill Road to Concord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good, and they end up passing here, turning left, going down, well, depending on which side you're still on, it's either New Durham Road or Middleton Road. And they can do directional traffic counts. So they'd like to look into that. And what do we do with it? I don't know. The worst parts of that New Durham Road are not in Middleton,
Yeah.
they're in New Durham. That's a big chunk of change to fix that road. Our section isn't too bad, except there's only 2 houses
Right.
that are in Middleton.
Yeah.
But all the rest of that road can be pretty tough. You try meeting a triaxle truck on that, you'd, want to be moving over.
You're in the ditch and they're not moving for you.
Yeah.
So he ain't even supposed to be out there.
No, I know, I know.
Speaking of that, when you're talking with Chief Lodge, did you talk to him to see how the enforcement's going on this, posted road stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right, what else for the good of our meeting tonight?
Well, I have this from the newspaper. You especially may be interested in that. And I'll give a copy to Laura, since John isn't here, maybe you can pass it to whatever other safety personnel might be interested in that.
Oh, sure.
It's free, it's training.
CERT is Community Emergency Response Teams. Okay? They're not EMTs, but they help with traffic control. They help dispense items. If we had a POD, point of dispensing, they might help pass out food supplies. Okay? And some towns have them very active, usually not as small as us, but Goffstown, I see them a lot at my emergency management training class, and they have like 40 or 50 people.
It's just some additional information that I thought
Yeah.
might be of
Thank you.
interest. And Tony and I have been working, sitting together.
Oh, is this the box? All right.
The box, 2 keys. I talked to your town clerk. She's willing to have that inside her office. There are 2 keys on tags. We have a poster we'd like to put up on the bulletin board.
It's upside down, Joanne.
Hmm?
It's upside down.
Oh,
Oh, no, it's all right.
Got your
I
attention?
can read it.
Right, right. Joe was having a difficult time.
Donations, that'd be.
Joe can't read upside down. I can read upside
That's
down.
what we'd like to post on the bulletin board, if it meets with everyone's approval.
I'm fine with it.
And then we just need to know who gets the keys.
This stays in the town clerk's office.
Yeah.
I'll leave it with her.
Leave the
I would
keys
think
with
she
her.
gets 1 key, and if there's another one,
There are 2
we have a
keys.
place we can store the extra one.
We have a key box in the
Yeah,
office,
like a
in his
box,
office.
So we'll bring it back to the office when she's in
All right.
and put that in there.
Cool.
Next question is, I believe some people here made a donation. I want to know if you want receipt, and I also need a tax ID number so that I can put it on the receipts.
We can give you the rec committee's tax ID number, because we talked about that, okay?
Or can you get that for
We
me
don't want a
later?
receipt, do we? No.
Okay.
There's no tax write-off.
Well, some people may want to give a large donation.
I do
I thought he
have,
did.
I do have,
No, really, a really exceptionally large donation.
if
I feel
someone,
that way.
if someone does a check in here, I'll have their name and address, presumably on the check. I will send them a receipt along with a short note with the tax ID and the information for them to.
So the money that comes out of that, those checks like that, where's the money gonna be deposited to?
That's the other question. So, do you have, would it go into a separate fund within the?
I think it would have to.
Yeah, to try to keep track, we couldn't mix it in with what we have
No,
already.
because it
donated.
would probably mess up our records.
So,
Yeah.
Is that another line you
Well-
have to ask in the rec, there, I don't know,
I mean,
No, this is a
Somebody-
whole separate, not a town
Well,
account at all.
right.
It's a whole separate thing.
right, the rec committee, we have our own
So
tax
what
ID
I-
number, so we have our own checking
It's
account
not a big
and
deal.
stuff like that, so.
I
well,
can keep it
what I'm saying is,
separate.
for simplicity's sake, I can come in once a month with the town clerk, take the money out, inventory it or count it or whatever, make a total of it, so that there's a record between, 2 of us being there at the same time. And then I'll go down and open a bank account and put it into an account,
We don't have to, we can put it in our account, can't we? We just keep track of it,
okay?
and we just deposit it into
That would probably be better
Yeah.
than putting it in
Because
a
I think if you
separate
open
account.
another one, they'll charge you with the bank
Right.
for 2.
So, there's no sense in doing that, we already have
It's
one
not like we
established.
do a lot
It's just,
of
I like the
that.
idea that you and Kathleen account the money, you just give it, whatever Laura can give you the deposit slip, you just gotta put it in. Like
Okay,
that, and that way we just account for it, and that's it, so.
all right.
We'll always have a total,
And then,
so.
at some point, we do need to select a certain group of people to determine, and quite frankly, I don't mean to be pushy and bossy and all that, but this has been my brainchild, and I'd like some input as to how to do this. And my suggestion is to have the students made aware that there's a fund, ask them to submit letters as to who they are, why they want the money, what they would do with it, and then have a review of those letters, select from that.
So a couple questions for you, Joanne. Are you looking to do this for this end of the school year?
Yes,
So what I would do is, one suggestion is to reach out to
the guidance counselor.
at Kingswood and let them know, because typically the guidance counselor will let the students know these are the scholarships you can apply for, and especially for the, let's say New Hampshire, the Middleton students. And then, and you would say you want the deadline, and she could probably kind of give you an idea of what you should use for a deadline, because you'll want to make that decision before they have like they have to do announcements when they give out all their awards, so it would be done then. So that was just from past experience, that's what I recall.
It's obviously going to be rather meager this time since we started now.
It's a
But
start.
it'll take from
Right.
that point on till next year and maybe even be much better than next year.
Alright, that's,
We
I mean,
would,
that's
we
the
would
guideline.
benefit, my son was a beneficiary for the police department for 250 or was it 500?
I think it was 500, I
$500.
think.
So
You
even,
know,
even
so,
if it's
Buy
only
books.
$50 or whatever it is, it'll
Buy a
pay for a
book.
book or whatever.
Books are
Yeah.
expensive
Yeah.
when you go to college.
Well, now everything's
Well, it's
online.
part of it.
And even if someone doesn't go to college, the fund is not necessarily for that, but I'd like to let them know too that if it's for someone going to a trade school, or someone starting a business, if they've got a business plan. I'm not averse to that either.
just showing it and moving forward, to do something.
But usually schools have, like an awards night when they give out all their scholarships or whatever. And I don't know, I mean, I
Tiny
just-
little school in California, we went to our granddaughter's graduation. I couldn't, it was a small school, I don't think they had 100 graduating students. $250,000 in scholarships.
That was in California though?
Yeah. But it's a small,
Yeah.
Durham, California, I don't think the town has 30,000 people.
You might be able to get different businesses to donate too,
Yeah.
even if it was,
So I think our Middleton kids deserve something from their town.
All right.
Okay.
I have a comment for Ms. Tammy Bailey.
he passed that cat tax thing, didn't he?
You mentioned an ability to read upside down.
Well, not that far, not from that distance.
I
It's gonna be a
will
little bit bigger font.
match you and raise you one. I started teaching in 1972, young buck.
You were born with that, weren't you?
72? Sure.
Untold atrocities occurred when I would try to help someone in the front row by turning my back to the rest of the class. Spitballs,
Uh-oh.
boys and girls holding hands, you know, just unbelievable what went on. I learned to write upside down. And since I taught math, I can still write every number correctly upside down, so I can stand here, one eye on that student and one eye on the other. I had about 35 in the class.
I'll have to get you to teach
That's
me
right,
that.
so I just practice, I still know how to write numbers upside down. I'm sure that really makes your evening.
It does. I'll come in someday and you can teach me how to do that.
On the other hand, Leonardo da Vinci could write two different sentences at the same
Oh,
time.
well, I'm no Leonardo.
Okay, you're not Leonardo.
All right, what else do we have
Like
for
Leo.
this evening?
Leonardo, that's all right.
That's it?
That's
All
it.
right.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn at 7:46.
I will. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're done.